we got a jam-packed hour here. So first of all, appreciate you being here. If you are a guest with us, welcome. This is kind of a special thing we're doing here on this Friday, the week before Thanksgiving. A lot of people getting ready to kind of shut things off for a little bit and get grateful. We need to be grateful. A lot to be grateful for. EXP, I'm grateful for that for sure. So if you're a guest with us, welcome. For everybody part of our Freedom Team group, great to have you with us as always. Just a special time here and really special time to bring in Brian. So Kathy, why don't you introduce Brian and we will get things going here. We got a lot to talk about. So.
Well, Brian, again, super excited to have you doing this for our team. And I'm just going to try to highlight your bio because otherwise we'd take the whole hour with all your accolades. But so we're excited to have you. So Brian, y'all, he is our Chief Learning Officer here at EXP. But prior to EXP, he was an award-winning business development and operations with KW. He actually led as the COO at KW, both worldwide international franchising division and their commercial division. Then he was at Rheology or Anywhere, and he served there leading the training and the coaching divisions for all 7 franchise brands, and he worked very closely there with the CEO. And so his passion, as he says, is just leading large scale cross team initiatives. And like I said, how long have you been here with EXP now as the Chief Learning Officer?
2 years. 2 years.
Okay. Yeah. So he made the move here 2 years ago, and it's been amazing having you here at EXP. And so, Brian, we're going to turn it over to you, and thank you again so much.
Well, thank you for saying that. Very kind words, and thanks for having me too. Hi, gang. How are you? Good. I see some friendly faces. Hey, Kelly. And so I want you all to come off mute whenever you want to come off mute. I want to make this as interactive as possible. As you all know, those of you who know me, if all I do is talk for the next hour, this is going to get real boring real quick. So I'd love for you guys to ask questions along the way. I want to do something real quick for you guys so that we can make sure you get everything out of this. If you have your camera handy, take a quick picture of this. iPhone users, I know if you go into your photos after you take a picture of this, you can long press on either that URL or on that QR code, and both will pop up a website for you. Both of these tools are going to be really useful in this conversation. One of these tools is going to be indispensable in this conversation, so I want you to have it. Now, if you're an Android user, I think you can do the same thing, and I'm sorry they were out of iPhones when you went to go buy your phone. But let me give you just a quick second. Thank you for laughing at that. I get real good hate mail for those kinds of comments, by the way. Those Android users sure are angry people.
I love my Android.
Hello, thanks, Kurt. So everybody got their picture? I'm gonna give 3, 2,
Yes.
1. All right, and I'm moving on. All right, so thank you for letting me come play. As always, no guarantees in life, and none of us look good in orange jumpsuits. So do the right thing, and if you don't know what that is, ask your broker, please. But other than that, let's get into it. I suspect that most of you are here because you are here, but you want to get here. Is that right? Okay, good. That's an IQ test. Congrats, you guys have all passed. So here's what's interesting about that. If you think about your business for the last 12 months, whether you want to count it by units, by GCI, by volume, however you assess your business, think about the results that you got for the last 12 months. And now a weird way of thinking about things is everything in your business is designed to do exactly that and not a penny more. Which means that if you want more out of your business in terms of results, we're going to have to do some different things. And in my parlance, what I say is add, edit, delete. Add, you're going to add some things to your business. Now, if you're a $5 million producer and want to get to a $10 million producer, there are things that a $10 million producer does that a $5 million producer doesn't do. And so you're going to have to add some things in there. It might be more lead gen, different lead gen sources. It might be people. Those of you who are on the verge of your capabilities as a human being, You may have to add people to your business. Edit, you may have to change things. You may have to add to certain lead generation sources, add hours to your prospecting time, add money to your marketing budget. You may have to tweak the things that you've been doing and then delete. I heard, I think it was Truett Cathy Sr., who was the founder of Chick-fil-A. I think it was him who said this, but they said, on my desk are two lists. One is a to-do list, and the other is a stop doing list. And I can't add one without adding something to the other. And for a lot of us, there are things that we're doing that are going to hold us back from getting to where we want to go if we don't let that thing go, whatever it is. And that could mean stopping it altogether, or it could mean delegating, and that's up to you. Now, question for you. As I say those three things, do you have exact clarity on what needs to change in your business, how to make those changes in a way that you feel pretty darn confident is going to lead to the results that you want? I'm not seeing enough head nods, which tells me you're in the right place. For me, when I think about business planning, I don't actually call it business planning. I call it a strategic plan because there's the numeric portion of it. We're going to walk through that. Our business is pretty darn simple, even though 1.5 million of us try to complicate the hell out of it. It's real simple. And if you tell me what you want financially out of your business, then I can tell you what you need to go do in order to do that. But that's activity levels. For a lot of us, there's a strategic element that we need to think through. When I talk to a lot of agents and I say, hey, what's your goal? Well, I'm at 5 million. I want to get to 10 million. Okay, great. How are you going to do that? What they tell me is things like Facebook. I'm like, okay, Facebook, cool. What's the plan? How many, how often, who, when, where, how? And so part of the strategic plan that we're going to walk through today is going to be about figuring out those elements. Now, this is part of a larger deck that I've done. So we're not going to tackle all of this today, but I am going to give you some of this stuff at the end so that you have it, and then we can talk later if you need help parsing through what I've got here. But the real things we're going to talk about today are what's motivating your business goal. And then we're going to dial those business goals back into activities, right? I can't hold you accountable for results. I can hold you accountable for activities, right? So if you have a coach, if you have a mentor, you have a sponsor, somebody who's holding you accountable, you have a partner, a significant other, you have kids, get them to hold you accountable for the activities. Because lo and behold, when you do the activities, isn't it just funny how the results show up? Then we're going to talk about the elements of a strategic plan. I'm going to give you the kind of layout of what that document that you have now on your phone. I'm going to talk you through that. And then I'm going to encourage you to start it now, but then go get in a dark room with a glass of Chardonnay or 90s R&B, however you get contemplative. And I want you to contemplate. I like it, Jamie. Was that Boys to Men? And then finally, we're gonna end by talking about 168 hours, and I'll explain what that means when we get there. So, worth the time if we did that today, worth the next hour of your life. I'll try to make some jokes along the way just in case, so that at least it really is worth an hour of your life. So the first thing that we got to tackle is this pesky question of why in the world are you selling real estate? Why are you selling real estate? By the way, let me get the chat going here so I can see, because I can see some of you aren't going to come off mute and answer. So maybe you'll be not shy enough to put it in the chat. But why are you selling real estate?
Help people and make money.
Help people and make money. So I ask this question a lot, and a lot of agents look at me and go, "Well, duh, the commission check." And my comment back to them is, "It ain't the money. You don't care about the money, and I'll prove it to you. As soon as you get the money, you go give it away to get what you really want, don't you?"
True.
Right? So when I ask the question, why are you selling real estate? I'm talking about that, whatever that is. And it could be a real soulful answer, or it may be something as simple as I got to put Junior through college. but it's a very personal question for you that you got to answer. And you got to get really clear on that because here's what's interesting. You could go nail your business plan next year. But if your business plan doesn't take into account what you really want, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And so when we talk about building your business plan, this is where I start. And it's a weird way of thinking of it, but everything in your life that you want typically, not always, but typically has a price tag attached to it. You want to go spend time with your family? Great. Where do you want to go spend time and what do you want to be doing? Because there might be a cost involved. You got to send junior to college? Great. There's a price tag to that. You got to remodel that avocado green bathroom or those salmon pink colored countertops in your kitchen? Great. There's a price tag attached to that. And if you can get really clear on the next year of your life of literally what do I want? If I'm sitting here December 31st, 2026, what's it going to make me look back and smile and say, pretty darn good year? And the clearer you can get about that, the clearer that price tag is attached. Because when I ask most agents, what's your financial goal for the year? What do you think they say? What number do you think they give me?
100,000.
What was that?
Couple hundred
I think
thousand.
the average agent would probably say 100,000.
I don't know if they issue that goal to you when you get your real estate license. It was a long time ago. I don't remember them issuing that goal to me when I got mine. But it just seems like every agent goes 100,000. I got to tell you, I've earned six figures in my career. It didn't complete me as a person, so I don't know why that's the goal. But for a lot of people, it is. But I want you to stop and think for a second. Okay, what do I want? And there's a few things in this too, by the way. There's those questions of your loved ones. For instance, we've got EXPCon in Paris this year. Well, I want to take my kids to that. There's a price tag attached to that, right? I want things for my wife. There's price tags attached to that. I've got things I want to do in my lifestyle. I'm about to replace my car, and I'm a cheapskate too, Irish Catholic raised. I don't like spending money, but I know it's time. I gotta replace that car. There's a price tag attached to that, most definitely. There's things that we want to do. By the way, Q2 of this year, Q2 of this year, 33% of the homes sold were to investors. To investors. 33%. Are you one of those 33%? And if not, why in the world not? You're out there in the market every single day spotting deals. My friend Brandon Brittingham, who runs Expand, he says most agents are involved in investment transactions, but the investor is getting the real check. They're just giving you a tip, and we call that a commission. So there's a lot of opportunity in our markets right now as we're shifting from a hot seller's market to a balanced market in many areas and even buyer's markets in many. Are you taking advantage of that? What investing do you want to do? What sort of investing do you want to do in yourself too? I highly recommend getting a coach. Somebody like a Chet Black, somebody like a Tom Ferry, somebody like that. Even Success Coaching, which is coming back, by the way. Get yourself a coach. Somebody who's going to be there to help push you to the next level, to help hold you accountable to what you say you want to do and what so often we don't do because we don't have somebody in our lives like that. For personal and business expenses, for your personal, here's a simple solution. Just go to Wells Fargo, Bank of America, or wherever you bank and go print off the last 12 months of your personal expenses. By the way, if you've never done this, I'd highly recommend you go do that and go feed it in to Gemini or ChatGPT. I like Gemini, especially with the new one that just came out this week. It's really good. But go feed that 12-month PDF from your bank into it and say, help me create a budget, show me where I could get savings, and help me create this much extra cash flow each month. I guarantee you, you will be floored at the answers. I guarantee you, your significant other will not like that conversation either because it's really good. It is really good, but it is a worthwhile exercise in your personal life. How many of you have a separate business account for your business from your personal accounts? Okay, great, great. If you never read it, there's a great book called Profit First. The guy's name is Michael, I'm going to say Michael M. Profit First. He recommends a set of structured accounts, right? I'm going to tell you, you need at least 3 accounts for your business, at least 3 accounts. And depending upon where you bank, it ain't going to cost you any more to have one versus three. So here's the 3 accounts. One, an intake account. Two, an expense account. By the way, if you have somebody in your business that touches your money, they should never take your intake account. They should never touch your intake account, only the expense account. And there should be receipts that you verify each month. So an intake account, that's where your commission checks go. That's where your property management rents go and all that other stuff. An expense account, everything hits that. And then a reserve account. A reserve account. Hey, anybody ever had a bad week in real estate? About a bad month, bad year? You need at least 6 months reserve, right? In venture capital, there's a term called burn rate. And we tell agents this in Fast Cap. If you got $10,000 in your bank account and your monthly bills are $2,000, how long until you got to put money in that account? 5 months. So for most of you, I'm going to tell you, you need at least 6 months in reserve. By the way, I like having that even when there's no rain clouds in the sky, because that allows you to do things like buying people's book of business, looking for investment opportunities, and other things like that. So I'd highly recommend you have a reserve account. And then one last pesky little question is, how much profit do you want beyond all that? And if you're not familiar with the concept of profit, that's when you have more revenue than you spend out in expenses and other things. I know for some realtors, that's a real foreign concept. Hopefully not for anybody on this call, but how much profit do you want out of your business this year? And thank you, Jamie. You beat me to the punch. Absolutely. You're asking me, should you have a tax account? Oh, yeah. So I have 5 different accounts. I'm recommending just 3 basics, but yeah, I do have 5 accounts, and one of them is my tax account where I'm pushing that money aside. I don't ever want to bank on something and have my accountant tell me something that depresses me, right? But once you have your number, now I need you to do 2 things. One, account for taxes, and then two, well, my wife says from a TV show she watches, know your worth and add tax. Norman Vincent Peale said, if I shoot for the moon, I'll land among the stars. If you say my goal is 200,000, I would tell you make it higher, at least 10% higher, at least. Because if you're shooting for 250 for 300, you've got a better likelihood of hitting 200 and beyond, right? Shoot past the goal, whatever that is for you. Questions, comments, concerns, excitement so far about this? I'm pausing. If you're talking, I can't hear you. Okay. All right. I'm moving on. So once you have that number, then we're talking simple math here. We're talking simple math, and you all have an amazing goal calculator, whether or not you know it. The Sisu URL that I gave you earlier, if you go there and go to account, you're going to see a little button that says goals. And when you do, you're going to see their goal setting tool. There are, by the way, if you're not with EXP, I'm sorry. There's plenty of goal calculators out there. Just go Google real estate goal to activity calculator and you're going to find one. Sisu is the kind of gold Cadillac of these. I've seen a lot of them in my 2 decades plus. God, I'm old. But Sisu is the best one that I've ever seen. So here's what it looks like. If you're seeing my screen, you can go in and tell it, here's my average price point. Here's my income goal from the last slide that we were just looking at. Here's my average GCI, whatever that is for you. This is just an example here. Please don't think I'm trying to sway you one way or another. What percentage of your business do you want to be buyers versus sellers? And then it's going to ask you a series of what's your conversion rates for the various stops from lead to close. So under contract to close, signed to under contract, appointment to met, appointment set to appointment met, whatever your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, I'm going to tell you mine are pretty darn good. As Kathy shared with you at the beginning, I've been around a lot of different real estate companies and I've seen under their hoods, and I can tell you my numbers are pretty darn good. And that's all I got to say about that as far as said. But if you know your numbers, put those in. Okay.
Brian, can I ask you a question here? So
Yeah.
if an agent doesn't have theirs, is there a rule of thumb number for somebody to start if they haven't tracked up to this point?
Yeah, that's these numbers here. I would use those. Just understand it's a wet thumb in the air, and so it's going to give you an activity level at the end of it. And so just to make sure you hit that goal, just go ahead and increase your activity level just a smidge. But these numbers are pretty darn good if you don't have your own. Okay. All right. So when you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to tell you monthly and yearly. Here's how that breaks down to activities, right? And what do you think the most important number on this side of the screen is? That's the live question. Somebody jump on it. What do you think the most important number on this screen is?
Conversations.
Tell me more about that, whoever said that.
This is Sean. Well, I'm just, I guess, obvious reasons. Conversations will lead to every other number on there.
Yeah. Yeah, well said, Sean. That's exactly right. And here's the deal. I don't recommend bringing a weapon to a listing appointment or a buyer consultation. But that'd be about the only way that you can guarantee that you'd get that person to sign a piece of paper, right? You know the person who doesn't care about a seller who wants to overprice their double wide for $1 million? The person who's got another listing appointment right after that. And the only way that happens is if we hold ourselves accountable to conversations. And this is the thing, folks. We call this a job. We say this is work. Boys and girls, this ain't work. This ain't work. We get to go make friends and help them with real estate. About the worst thing that happens to us is we have to walk through hot homes that smell like cat pee. That's not work. Go dig a ditch for a living. That's work, friends. We get to go have fun. We get to go have great conversations with great people and help them. And so for us, when we talk about what it is that we need to be really truly focused on a day-to-day basis, it is simply that, conversations. I know some of the most successful real estate agents on this planet, and not anybody on this call, but some of them have the personality of cardboard. This whole idea that you got to be, a Mr. Personality and be brilliant to be a top agent. I'm not looking at anybody on this call, but I'm sure you know that's not true. It is all about doing the thing that's going to lead to the results. And in our instance, that's conversations. In FastCap, by the way, we call them real talks, and we narrowly define them. It's a back and forth communication, could be by voice, could be face to face, it could be by text if it's back and forth. We talk about real estate, we ask about their real estate needs, we ask about their real estate referrals, we promise something of value to them, and we tell them when we're going to follow up. That's what I mean when I say conversations. Anybody think that if you didn't do just 5 of those a day, you wouldn't be wildly successful? Because if you do, let me know. I'll put you to a challenge, and if you follow through, I'll give you a prize at the end if you don't succeed. It's conversations. So when we talk about this, then you got your numbers for the year, and it gives you a monthly average. But then in CSU, you can go in and you can dial it in for seasonality. Everybody see here at the top, this little toggle says seasonality, total 100%. You can go in and you can change these numbers. Now, I want to ask you a question because I see some highly successful agents on this call. Does seasonality in your market dictate your results?
I would think for most agents, yes.
For most agents, and Sean, do you want to be most agents?
No.
71% of them, by the way, didn't do a transaction in the last 12 months. I would hope you don't want to be most agents. And,
And
and
no,
so
you just make the adjustments like you're talking about, right? You know, knowing that January, February may be slower. So you're making those adjustments.
And Kathy, what adjustments would you make? What would you adjust?
I would adjust the percentages like you're talking about, right? You know, in the busier months, I would have those higher. And then in the slower months, I'd have those lower. That would give me an idea of, because does it spit out the conversations you need to have in order to hit the overall goal? Is that what this is doing here?
That's absolutely what it
Yeah.
does.
So I
Yeah.
think if I adjusted the percentages again higher in those busier months, then I'd say, okay, I get to have more conversations during these months. Um,
I love that you said that.
yeah.
Here's what I would adjust, not your expectations. I would not adjust your expectations. I would adjust your activities. And for those of you who have snow on the roof at this time of the year, so what? Houses are still selling. You may have to put on snow boots. It may take you a little longer to get to the front door. We're going to adjust our activities, not our expectations. And by the way, there are so many agents right now about to put the turkey in the oven that they've been basting since September. That Christmas ham they're going to have, they started on that in October because they believed in this. Oh, wow. I mean, look at January compared to June. It's half. Uh-huh. 5% of US home sales happen in January. By math, it should be 8.33%. So we're only talking about a marginal adjustment here. But here's the great news. If you're going, oh man, well, December and January, there's so many fewer homes for sale. Uh-huh. Let me ask you a question. What percent of agents do you think are working here? Do you guys see my little cursor? What percent of agents do you think are working at this time of year? You with me?
90, 100%.
100%. Everyone.
Why?
Yeah.
If you said 80%, I'd say that's probably a lot. Remember, there's 1.5 million of us, and there there ain't that many doing transactions. But if you said 80% of them are working this summer, I'd say yeah. What percent of them are working here? And so when we talk about the lower transaction count in these winter months, baby, it is so fewer agents going around that the agents who are working are killing it. They want other agents to buy into this idea of seasonality. They want other agents to start basing that Christmas ham here. Get me? So when we talk about our expectations, we're not going to lower them. We're just going to have to raise up our activities. And by the way, I'd ask you what today's date is, but too many of you would mistakenly say it's November 21st. It is absolutely not. It is 100 days from now as far as your business is concerned. Because what NAR tells us is if we met a ready, willing, and able buyer or seller today, it's going to be about 100 days before we see a commission check from that. Isn't that true? So it ain't November 21st. It's more like February something. You get me? February you is going to be looking back at November you and either saying, man, what an animal. I love you. Or what a sloth. What was I thinking?
Brian, could I throw in something real quick? Because something I learned early
Absolutely.
on with coaching, 23 years I've been in the business. And those first few years, I had really good coaching and they like do the opposite of what everybody else does. I learned to ramp up my marketing in November and December. And I'll just say some of my biggest months over the 23 years have been January, February. Because nobody else is working, just like you said. I've had Januaries where I've closed 8, 9, 10 deals, whatever. And these were people. I usually think I'm going to have this week off between Christmas and New Year's, and December 22nd, my phone goes crazy. That's what it always happens because that built up demand is there, and I've been out there with my marketing doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing, pulling back, and it's just led us off to a big start just about every year we've had. So
Yeah. And those of you who can't say what Jeff just said, that week between Christmas and New Year's is crazy, go back and look at your mid-September prior to that. I bet you anything that wasn't crazy either. I bet you
And
anything you were catching up on Below Deck or whatever Netflix show you're watching. And I bet you anything you let you get your foot off the gas pedal of lead gen, right? So
yeah.
when we,
Hey, Byron,
yeah, please.
just one thing, just jump in real quick. When we talk about seasonality, we look at that. And while that might statistically be true, my mindset always is from a mindset perspective, I'm going to be successful every day, every season. I don't think about seasons. I just think about I'm just going out there and doing it. So I think if we have our mindset focused that we are going to be successful, we are going to meet somebody. You go to the gym. My intention is to talk to at least one person at the gym. I've gotten real estate agents from the gym just by seeing they're working out. I did $1 million in sales by showing up for classes at Crunch last year. Just by
Yeah,
showing up for class, people led to one transaction, which led to another transaction just by being, and I'm not even the most consistent class goer at Crunch, but just consistent enough, I guess. And so just making sure that our mindset is that we're going to be successful each and every day, regardless whether it's January, whether it's in like Jeff, I've had one January, I had 9 closings. December is usually a huge month for me. This November is a great month for me. So, I mean, it's just all about the expectation that you set in your own mind.
that's right.
That I'm going to be successful and I'm going to do well.
And taking advantage of the opportunities. So I'll tell you two stories. When I was chief operating officer for Century 21, we had an agent there who was the number one equine property salesperson in the world. Her daughter was a world champion of cutting horses. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, you don't need to until you try to get your Texas driver's license. Then you'll need to know it. But she would sit there in the stands when her daughter was practicing and going to competitions, and she would work the parents. That's how she became successful. My friend Shannon Maxwell, those of you who've been through FastCap, you know this story. Shannon does a lot of agent-to-agent referrals for the bulk of her business. She does 70 to 80 of those per year without even blinking. But one aspect of her business, she plays an online game where the object of the game is to capture people's castle, and then they have to pay you coins in the game to get their castle back. Except instead of making them pay her coins, she says, if you give me a real estate referral, I'll give you your castle back. By the way, she's closed 12 deals out of that game last time I asked her. I'm not saying go play video games. Do that in your spare time if that's your gig. But what I'm saying is it doesn't matter how you generate leads. It matters that you have those conversations. And if you'll take advantage of that and just understand that at certain parts of the year, you might have to have more. Tom Hopkins wrote a book called Mastering the Art of Selling Real Estate. It was the first book I ever read when I got into the business. And what he said was something that really hit home for me because I was a door knocker. He said, listen, if you have to hit 125 doors to get a yes, well, now you know. If you want to get 2 yeses, how many doors do you need to get? And by the way, over time, aren't you going to get better the more doors that you hit? So for us, we just have to make sure we're tracking our numbers, know what those numbers are, and maybe increase our activities at the times of the year that we have to increase our activities. All right. So again, I gave you this QR code earlier. If you want to long press on that, I'll walk you through that document in a second. But here's what we've done so far. We figured out our life goals for the next year. That in turn is going to figure out our financial goals and then the activities necessary to go hit those, right? But now I've coached team leaders, I've coached brokerages, and all of them, I asked them, okay, so you're here and you wanted to get here, so what's going to change? And the answers I get oftentimes are, I'm going to try harder. I'll just do more. Okay, what are you going to do more? What are you going to try harder at? Literally speaking, what structurally is going to change in your business? Because I had a friend of mine who used to say you don't get to better until you get to different. And so when we talk about this, I've given you guys two different strategic plans, one for team leaders and one for solo agents. Now, how many of you just raise your hand, or actually put a one in the chat? Put a one in the chat if you're a team leader or a solo agent with an administrative staff. Even if it's a staff of one, put a one in the chat real quick. Let me know. Okay. All right. So just a couple of you. I want to have a brief aside. And those of you who are solo agents, please don't tune out, because sooner or later you're going to hit capacity and you're going to need to bring talent into your business, whether it be administratively or other agents. And this is important. This is a process I follow every year, and I have for a long, long time with every team I've ever led. And every time I do this, I follow a process. And here's my process. I sit in a quiet room. I play 90s R&B. That's my thing. If your thing is Chardonnay, just one glass. If you like to burn sage, open the windows. Get soulful, get contemplative, get in that frame of mind about thinking about what you want out of your business and what it's going to take for you to achieve it. What has to change in your mind. Now, even if you're a solo agent, I'm going to advocate that you go to somebody in your world once you've drafted your plan. Team leaders and solo agents with an admin staff, what I do is after I'm done, after my Boys to Men song ends and I've got my document, I go to my people leader first, my VPs and directors, and I say, here's what I think. Here's a red pen. What do you think? And then they tell me. And then I go to the rest of the team and I say, me and the people leaders talked. Here's what we think. Here's a red pen. What do you think? And the reason I do that is several fold. Number one, buy it. It's now no longer my goals, it's their goals. Number two, invariably, every single time I've done this, somebody comes up with a brilliant idea that I would have never thought of, that my people leaders didn't think of. There's brilliance there. These people are closer to it than you are oftentimes. Let them have a voice. And here's another thing that you're going to get out of this: correcting stinking thinking. Somebody on your team is going to be like, you know what's going to make us more money this year is if we get that gold-plated chocolate fondue fountain for the lobby. That's what's really going to put us over the top, coach. And that's our opportunity to say, like Herb Kelleher, who's the founder and CEO of Southwest Airlines, the low-cost airlines, when his marketing person came to him and said, hey, we need to be serving chicken Caesar salad on our flights because our competitors are serving chicken Caesar salad. Herb turned to her and said, cool, how does that make us the low-cost airlines? And by the way, if you don't have those conversations, do you think that those kinds of thoughts go away from your team? So when we involve folks too, please hear me when I say this, team leaders and solos with admin. I didn't say let them make the decisions about what we're going to do. I didn't say that. I said let them have input. Ultimately, whose butt is it on the line if we fail? And so I have veto right over everything. And I exercise that sometimes, cautiously and judiciously, but I do exercise it sometimes. But I always make them understand why I'm saying no to the idea. Make sense? A friend of mine, I went through an MBA program in entrepreneurship. This guy, Ed Perry, who'd started and sold bunches of business, he said, look, when you're in business with people, oftentimes you're going to disagree with the direction that your partners want to take the business. And at that point, you have two choices, and only two choices. You can disagree and commit, or you can disagree and quit. Anything in between is called sabotage. By the way, that's a script, team leaders. I say that to my team every year after we've finished this document. And then we all sign our names as a sign that we are maybe disagreeing, maybe agreeing, but we're all committing to this. That process is invaluable. Involving your team in this strategy planning is invaluable. So I'm going to ask you guys to do that after we're done. All right, so let me walk you through this really quickly. For those of you who've read the four disciplines of execution, you're going to recognize parts of this. This is an amalgamation of that and other things. Those of you who've done Traction ESO, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, you'll recognize the VTO is a very similar document. I do not like long business plans. Long business plans is just a list of things that ain't going to happen. I want this to be 1, maybe 2 pages when we're done. And I want it to be crystal clear such that my 7-year-old daughter could read it and go, oh, I know exactly what you're going to go do. Okay. So, first step, let me just go through this really quickly. One wildly important goal. One wildly important goal. We don't want to boil the ocean. One wildly important goal. We're going to call that the war wig. Wildly important goal. Wig. The war wig. 3 battle wigs. When we say that this is our war wig, okay, what 3 things have to happen in order for us to achieve it? Under each battle wig, each of the 3, each battle wig is going to have 5 battle tactics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we do these 5 things, we're going to accomplish that battle wig. If we do those 3 battle wigs, we'll accomplish the war wig. Okay? And then what blockers might come up and what proactive measures are we going to put in place to make sure those blockers don't stop us? So let's go through this really quickly. One wildly important goal. This is lag measures, right? In the book, Four Disciplines of Execution, they talk about lead and lag measures. Lag measure is the result. Lead measure are the activities that we know will guarantee the results. What's the lead measure in real estate? 5 questions. Somebody jump on it. Just making sure.
Conversation.
Conversations.
There we go. However we generate those, FSBOs, open houses, whatever, don't care. That's the lead measure in real estate. The lag measure in real estate is going to be closings, could be volume, could be units. I like units, not volume. Unless there's a major effort on your part to go up to a luxury price point, typically speaking, you're not going to control volume because price will be market determinant. What you will set is units. Got me? So for most of us on here, I'm going to want your goal to be unit based. Team leaders, an acceptable diversion from that is productive agents. Define productive however you want. Is it minimum of 6 deals? Is it minimum of 10 deals? Whatever the case for your team, I would accept productive agents as a wildly important goal, especially if you're trying to get yourself out of production. Okay? But generally speaking, that's going to be it. Again, don't complicate it. There's already 1.5 million agents trying to do that, and how's that working out for them? So when we talk about the battle wigs, then, these are 3 things that must be accomplished in order to achieve that war wig. These strategies must level up. No pet projects, right? The gold-plated fondue fountain and all that other stuff, if you've got that as a personal goal, put that someplace else. That's not part of your strategic plan, okay? Now, these strategies are going to have their own lead and lag measures as well. For most of us, that document that I've given you has what will typically be the measures for most of us. And for the solo agents, that's going to be lead generation and conversion as the one strategy, listings as another, and then efficiency and strategic delegation, getting crap off your plate, getting more streamlined, building a database, things like that. Okay. So when we talk about your battle wigs, here's a few questions for you to consider. Is this a battle wig or is this a battle tactic? So I was doing this in Houston a couple weeks ago, and a lady asked, "Well, I'm setting as a goal I want to do X number of open houses per week. Would that be a battle wig?" And I told her no, because 1, I don't like it when people have one lead generation source. I want to see multiple. And 2, open houses really aren't the goal. It's the conversations that you're generating from that that's going to generate the leads, right? So I would put something like open houses as a battle tactic, but not a battle wig. What is the lead metric? If your goal is to do so many deals, and you say, okay, based on my conversion rates, that means I need so many leads. If we're waiting till December 31st, 2026 to see whether or not we got those leads, we got a problem. We need to be able to look at the dashboard and know that we're on track on a weekly and monthly basis. So, what are those lead and lag measures, and how do you chunk that down to know that you're on track at any given point throughout the year? And then, does this battle week need to be accomplished sooner rather than later? So, if you need to do X number of deals, and that's going to require you to have so many people in your database that's on a drip plan that's getting value from you for a duration of time, if I'm waiting to December 31st, 2026 to have that many people in my database, I got a problem. 2027 might be a great year, but my 2026 numbers aren't going to hit my goal. So, what are the things that have to happen first? What are those dominoes? Same, by the way, with the battle tactics. So, underneath each of those battle wigs, 5 battle tactics. Now, by the way, some people say, well, can I have 4 battle wigs and can I have 6 battle tactics? Don't boil the ocean. Don't boil the ocean. Most of us, our businesses are not that complex. Okay. And so I would really tell you, if you're going more than 3 battle wigs and more than 5 battle tactics, it's because you haven't really spent enough time living with that plan and really boiled down to what's essential, what is truly essential. Now, these tactics must level up to the battle wig. Again, no pet projects. Teams, your tactics must have a driver. And if, by the way, on the Brian Ellington team, every single tactic has Brian Ellington next to it, we got a problem. We're not going to hit our goals because we're not operating like a team. Nobody's taking ownership. And really, it's because I'm not letting them. Isn't that true? So, battle wigs, battle tactics, they got to have a driver. And also, team leaders, major new tactics. I've got a friend of mine who is a very, very successful agent, 70 million a year. She does not have a database. And I'm like, and she wants to go to 100 million, by the way. And I go, I think I know where your other 30 million is going to come from. Her fear, though, is letting somebody come in and meddle with their database. My comment to her is, why would you worry about that? Nobody's doing anything with your database. How would they screw that up? Anything times 0 is 0. So for team leaders, any new major battle tactic, ask your team member that's driving that to create one of these plans just for that. Have that tactic be the war wig, and then ask them to plan out what's the strategy to get you there. Then have them come bring that plan to you and check off their thinking. Make sense? Okay. So moving on, blockers and proactive measures. What's going to get in the way of us succeeding? Come off mute or put it in the chat. What's a blocker that you know could potentially sideline your business?
Fear,
Could say that again?
fear,
Oh, I love that. Thanks, Kimberly. I appreciate that. What else?
family.
And by the way, you ain't wrong about that. So here's the thing. What then do you do about that? Because we all sit down at our desk about to make the phone calls that we know we need to make, following the TCPA DNC, by the way, and we let ourselves talk ourselves out of making those calls because nobody tells us no more than we do. And if you know that's true, then I'd ask you, what are you doing about it? And again, if you don't have a great coach, I'd highly recommend one. And family is another really good one. So once you're done with this document, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go give it to your significant other. I want you to go give it to your kiddos. Even my 7-year-old Pearl gets to see my plans. You know why? I've had plenty of coaches in my day. Nobody holds me more accountable than Pearl does. Dad, did you do what you're supposed to do? She's like my second wife, for crying out loud sometimes. And also, too, make sure they understand what the benefit is to them when boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, mom, dad succeeds. What do they get out of it? I have 4 kids. You guys have been on plenty of Zooms with me. Anybody ever seen my kids? They know when dad's in here, he's making it rain, and they know what they get out of dad succeeding. So does your family, does your loved one, do the people around you, and also too, does your sponsor, does your mentor, does your coach. All right, so we don't have time to go through all the rest of this, but I do want to tell you, um, I want you, before you're done today, I want you to text whoever it is that holds you accountable. And I want you to tell them, hey, not Black Friday, but the Friday after, would you please hold me accountable to sending you a draft of my plan? Just going to send you a draft. I just want your blink on it, but hold me accountable to sending it to you. Because here's the reason why most of us don't do this is because we don't have anybody who's expecting us. Right? A lot of you are probably married. Why'd you show up on the wedding day? Why didn't you go play games with your friends or watch Netflix? Because a whole entire room of people were expecting you to be there, right? Put that expectation out to the world. Let somebody know that you're going to be sending it to them and hold yourself accountable to getting it to them. Think through what you really need to do in your business and what it's going to take to accomplish those goals. Okay. Here I'm gonna give you a screen. Anybody know the import of 168 hours? Anybody know what that number represents?
Week.
That's right. It's 1 week's worth of time. Quick story time. I know we're getting close to the end here. When I was in my 30s, I decided that I was going to leave Keller. I was going to get my MBA in entrepreneurship, and I was going to go do something else. And Gary volunteered to pay for my MBA if I went to a specific program. Never heard of it before. The teachers in that program were not actually professors. They were millionaires and billionaires who had started and sold companies. The guy who taught me operations was Jack Long. He started Lone Star Overnight and PeopleSoft. If you want to know about operations, go ask Jack. He'll tell you. But what's interesting about that program is that most MBAs are 2 years long. This program was 1 year long. Same amount of work. It was 100 hours a week. Again, there's only 168 hours in a week, and if you're getting 8 hours of sleep, well, you only got 112 left. Gonna shower? Gonna eat? So 100 hours a week, pretty darn intense. And just as an aside, my firstborn son was born 4 days before that program started. And my wife loved me. When we think about our lives, by the way, they had us do this exercise because they said it's 100 hours a week. How are you going to spend the other 68? When we think about our lives, there's things we want. If you're involved in your church, synagogue, mosque, are you involved in local politics, in legislation? Do you want to be a good parent? Do you want to be a good spouse, partner, significant other? All of that takes time. They lied to us in grammar school. They told us love is spelled Love. It's not. It's spelled Time. My kids are pretty little. They've grown past the age where I give them a present and they play with the box instead of the present. But that's the same sort of thing. It's not the things that we give them, it's the time we spend with them. And so, whatever it is that you want to accomplish in your life, my greatest urgency to you would not be figure out whatever time's left over from your business to accomplish those things. My thing to you would be figure out how much time it's going to take first to go accomplish those things, and then figure out with what's left of your time, how you're going to accomplish your business goals. Because Parkinson's law is real simple. Work will expand to the time we give it. And we all know it. You sat down to do that listing flyer that is no more than a 15-minute activity, and it took us 3 hours, didn't it? Because the stapler didn't have staples, and the tape dispenser needed new tape, and all that other crap. work expands to the time we give it. So get real purposeful about your time. What's interesting about this, and by the way, the numbers here on the right side of the screen are for 24 deals, roughly. Depends on how good you are with buyers, by the way. Do you set boundaries with your buyers? But these are approximately right. But plug your numbers in, because at a certain point, your production goals are going to outstrip your capacity as a human being. And there's where we're going to need some leverage in our life. It could be somebody, could be a VA. By the way, it could be creating an a la carte menu of prices. Lockbox $25, sign in the yard $35, smoke cert $50, blah, 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 blah. And going to those agents who are huddled around the coffee machine, who still need to pay their light bill, and saying, hey, Bob, got something for you if you're interested. I knew an agent who did 500 deals a year, and that's what he did. By the way, 500 deals a year as a solo agent, certified, was the number one agent in the country in 2020. That's what he does. So there's ways of leverage other than hiring a human being to your business, but at a certain point, you're going to need help. And you're going to have to get really purposeful about where you spend your time and where you don't, if you truly want to accomplish what you want out of your life. Okay, I'm not going to go through the rest of this, but I will give this deck to Kathy and let her distribute it to everybody on the call. What I want you to see here, those of you who are thinking about social media, I want to give you this. This is 11 types of social media posts. And this, by the way, is based on research we've been doing in the university from all these icon level social media agents. And I've even given you their handles on the various social platforms. Pablo Picasso said, good artists borrow, great artists steal, go steal. The other thing I wanted to give you, and this is an idea from Brian Kelsey, those of you who do open houses or work with buyers at all, here's a script. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Most buyers only fish out of one pond. That's called the MLS, because 99% of agents out there won't work the other ponds. For me, with my buyers, we fish out of 8 ponds, and here they are. By the way, Brian's originally had 4. We expanded on that. So I want you guys to take this brilliance from the brilliant agents we've been talking to and incorporate it into your business. Boom, 12 o'clock on the dot, and I'm done. I'll hang out for a couple more seconds. What questions, comments, concerns, excitements, disbeliefs do you have for me?
Who's got something?
Fantastic.
It's excellent. Yeah. Really good stuff.
Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Kimberly, go ahead.
Yeah, this was really good. Can we get your slides?
I will give them over to Kathy later today before I pack up for the Thanksgiving holiday. And Kathy, I'm assuming you can get them to everybody?
For sure.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get 'em out.
Wonderful. Appreciate that so much.
You
Appreciate
got
your
it.
time.
You got it. Hey, would it be helpful for you team leaders if I gave you the actual slide deck and not the PDF with all my instructor notes in there so you can teach this to your own teams?
That'd be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'll do.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You got it.
Hey, Brian, quick question. Have you by chance put one of these together for Attraction that focuses on RevShare?
Do you mean like a business planning on there? Yeah, we call it Fast Attract. And it's a 6-week long program where we're going to kick your butt and make you do the things that you said you want to do and make you get results. Yeah, by the way, the results from that program have been phenomenal. And it's not because my team is brilliant, it's because of the people that we went and interviewed to get that course together are absolutely crushing it. So yes, and our next one is January 26th. So come join us for that.
All the things you and your team are doing, Ron, is amazing. You know, with all the different things that have been rolled out, and so it's just amazing. So I'm sure I can speak for everybody. You know, just appreciate all that we have at EXP. You know, I mean, it's super high value content that we're getting, and so thank you very much for all you do.
Well, believe it or not, I'm just the pretty face. My team does all the work, but I'll pass that on and give props where props is due. If you guys ever want, we wanted to talk about business planning today, but if you ever want to have me back, I will walk you through some of the things that we're doing, and I will give you so much value and resources from the research that we've been doing. I will make sure that you guys walk out of there with at least 3 ideas, or I'll give you a dozen chocolate chip cookies.
Awesome. Well, I'll reach out to you, after the holidays, and we'll get that set up.
Great.
We'd love to have you back. For
Any
sure.
day of the week. Any day of the week.
Awesome.
You let me know.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Brian, so much.
Hey,
I
if I
think I'll
don't
take
talk
the
to any of
chocolate
you
chip
before
cookies.
then, happy Thanksgiving. Hit me up on Slack if you need anything. We're here to support you in any way we can, okay?
Happy
Appreciate
holidays,
you.
man.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Brian.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.